You've been there, haven't you? Stuck on a project you no longer enjoy, a subscription you never use, or even a relationship that stopped serving you, all because you thought, I've already put so much into this. It feels almost compulsive, like you have to see it through. This isn't just simple inertia. It's a deeply ingrained and powerful cognitive bias. And the truth is, you've probably fallen for it this week without even consciously noticing. Today, on Mental Atlas, we're going to illuminate the sunk cost fallacy, a pervasive, hidden trap that subtly compels us to waste precious time, hard-earned money, and irreplaceable effort. We'll dive deep into why our brains consistently trick us into throwing good resources after bad, and uncover the often surprising psychological roots of this behavior. By the end of this episode, you'll not only be adept at recognizing this insidious bias in your own life and the world around you, but you'll also be equipped with practical strategies to break free, allowing you to make smarter, truly rational decisions about when to stay the course and, critically, when to courageously walk away. Imagine this common scenario. You bought tickets months ago for a concert you were initially excited about. Now, the day is here. It's pouring rain. You're exhausted from a long week, and honestly, the thought of navigating traffic and crowds feels dreadful. Logically, the money you spent on those tickets is gone. It's an irrecoverable or sunk cost. Whether you bravely face the elements and go, or comfortably stay home, that money isn't magically reappearing. A truly rational decision, one based on pure utility, would consider only your desire to experience the concert. Now, versus the immediate comfort and benefit of staying home. Yet how many of us would still begrudgingly drag ourselves out, perhaps even grumbling, well, I already paid for it. It would be a waste not to go. This, in its essence, is the sunk cost fallacy. It's a powerful cognitive bias where our decisions about future actions are irrationally influenced by investments, be they time, money, or effort, that we've already committed and which, crucially, cannot be recovered. In a perfectly rational world, these past investments would hold no bearing on future choices. Our focus should always be squarely on the potential future costs and future benefits, independent of what's already behind us. Pioneering researchers Hal R. Arkes and Catherine Bloomer, in their seminal 1985 paper, The Psychology of Sunk Cost, vividly demonstrated this phenomenon through elegant experiments. They showed that participants were consistently more willing to attend a less desired event if they had paid a higher price for the ticket, even when a lower-priced, more appealing alternative was readily available. The money for the initial ticket was gone either way, but the perception of having wasted the higher payment strongly drove the irrational decision to stick with the less appealing choice. So, the question naturally arises, why? Why do we, as intelligent beings, allow these past, irrecoverable investments to dictate our future actions, even when the illogic seems apparent? It's far more intricate than just a simple financial miscalculation. This bias taps into much deeper psychological currents within us. One incredibly powerful factor at play is loss aversion, a well-documented cognitive principle that suggests the psychological pain of losing something is significantly more potent than the pleasure of gaining something of equivalent value. To quit an endeavor, especially one we've poured ourselves into, often feels synonymous with admitting defeat, with acknowledging that the initial investment was, in fact, a mistake. We struggle profoundly with this internal confrontation. Furthermore, there's our inherent desire for consistency. We aspire to be seen, both by others and by ourselves, as someone who follows through, who finishes what they start, who makes good decisions. Abandoning a project can feel like a direct challenge to that self-perception. And perhaps most profoundly, there's the powerful mechanism of ego protection. Admitting that a past decision was poor, or that our significant effort was ultimately in vain, can be a substantial blow to our self-image and our sense of competence. The thought alone can be deeply uncomfortable. Barry M. Staw's groundbreaking 1976 research, aptly titled Knee-Deep in the Big Muddy, a study of escalation of commitment to a chosen course of action, provided crucial insights into this. He meticulously documented how individuals, and even entire groups and organizations, tend to commit additional resources to a failing course of action, particularly when they feel a sense of personal responsibility for the initial investment or decision. It creates a powerful, self-justifying cycle. I put so much into this, it must be a good idea, or at least it can be a good idea, so I'll put even more in to prove it was valid all along. This isn't an indictment of irrational people. Rather, it highlights a universal cognitive bias that influences even the most logical and analytical thinkers among us. We all possess this deeply human need to justify our past selves, to avoid the often painful confrontation with failure. The sunk cost fallacy, at its core then, is frequently an ego cost, rather than purely a monetary or temporal one. This isn't merely an intriguing academic curiosity. The sunk cost fallacy carries tangible and often profoundly damaging consequences across every conceivable aspect of our lives, from the most personal choices we make to the largest governmental projects. Let's consider a historical example: the Anglo-French Concorde project. Billions of dollars were relentlessly poured into its development, long after it became unequivocally clear that the supersonic jet would never achieve commercial viability on a large scale. Yet, both governments continued to inject funding, seemingly unable to abandon the truly enormous investments already made. The sheer weight of those sunk costs tragically compelled them to perpetuate a losing venture, consuming resources that could have been far better allocated elsewhere. On a more individual, personal finance level, think of the investor who stubbornly clings to a significantly underperforming stock. They rationalize, telling themselves it simply has to turn around, desperately hoping to recoup their initial investment, rather than courageously cutting their losses, selling the stock, and intelligently reinvesting in a genuinely more promising asset. The past financial loss, in this scenario, becomes a psychological chain, tethering them to future opportunity costs and preventing a smarter move. In the realm of relationships, we unfortunately witness this pattern play out with heartbreaking frequency. Someone remains entrenched in a toxic, unfulfilling, or even abusive partnership for years, perpetually citing the time and effort already invested as their primary reason not to leave. Even when the future prospects for genuine happiness and fulfillment are bleak or non-existent, the perceived weight of the past feels overwhelmingly heavy, making it seem impossible to simply walk away and choose a healthier path. This fallacy isn't benign. It actively prevents innovation, stifles necessary adaptation, and hinders personal growth. It keeps us stuck in situations that are demonstrably detrimental. It is a drain on our finite resources, our time, our energy, our money, and our emotional well-being. And here, we arrive at the crucial insight, the very climax of our discussion. The true waste isn't in what you've already spent and eventually lost. No, the true waste is in choosing to spend even more, to invest further, just to avoid the pain of admitting that initial fact. This continued commitment is the real detriment, perpetuating a cycle of loss under the guise of commitment. So, armed with this understanding, how do we effectively break free from the sunk cost fallacy's subtle grip? The foundational first step is simply awareness. Just recognizing this bias when it begins to creep into your decision-making process is an immensely powerful act. When you find yourself at a crossroads, pondering whether to continue an endeavor, consciously ask yourself a clear, unbiased question. If I hadn't made any investment yet, if I were starting from scratch, would I still choose to begin this now? Another powerful technique is to imagine you're advising a close, intelligent friend in the exact same situation. What objective counsel would you offer them? These thought experiments help to externalize the problem, stripping away the intense emotional attachment we often have to our past decisions and investments. Your focus must shift purely to the future. What are the potential costs and benefits? From this precise moment forward, the past is irrevocably gone. It is, by definition, an unrecoverable expense. The only thing we truly have the power to control is what we choose to do next. It requires genuine courage to abandon a failing path, to acknowledge a mistake. But that courage is precisely what unlocks new, more promising possibilities. Remember, it's not about wasting past effort. It's about intelligently optimizing future outcomes. Sometimes, finishing what you started is less about admirable discipline and more about falling prey to a powerful cognitive trap. Understanding and actively counteracting the sunk cost fallacy allows us to make clearer, more effective, and ultimately more liberating decisions, freeing us from the often invisible chains of past investments. It's not about harboring regret for previous choices. It's about cultivating strategic agility and possessing the wisdom to recognize when the best path forward is a brand new one, unburdened by what came before. Embrace the profound freedom to pivot when necessary. If this map of the sunk cost fallacy helped you see something you'd missed in your own mental landscape, you'll definitely want to explore the next crucial region: the anchoring effect. Subscribe to Mental Atlas to follow the full, unfolding atlas of the mind.